I'm standing here at Lower Sharpham Barton Farm. Behind me are the fields that we're rewilding. We're 2 years into a project funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund, which is supporting us as we move the estate away from more conventional farming to something that we feel is more in tune with the ethos of the Sharpham Trust. We're also celebrating at the moment that the whole estate has gone into organic status. Our rewilding project here at Sharpham is called Wild for People, and that choice of name was very deliberate because we think that the only way that we're going to really address some of the challenges facing us is to get people more involved on an emotional level. The huge benefits of getting people out in nature is that they have an emotional reaction from seeing more wildlife, more bird life, more insect life, more small mammals, and through that emotional reaction they connect and they think about some of the challenges that are facing us. It's much more effective than us simply telling people about the problems. We've seen huge gains in terms of wildlife and biodiversity already. Our hopes are that this will continue and that we'll be able to roll this out across the wider estate, and that the people coming to Sharpham on retreat and on courses and events will be able to see more of the biodiversity gains that we're making and take away those positive stories and messages.
So we're 2 years into our Sharpham Wild for People project, where we're restoring the historic parkland, and on top of that we're now rewilding. So year 2 has seen astonishing changes in the wildlife that are using our site here. The main and most noticeable one, I suppose, are the number of small mammals that are now moving out of the margins and the hedgerows and into the middle of the field, and you see runs all over the place. It's bouncing and alive with small mammals, voles, mice, shrews all moving through, and of course everything that's now predating that. Often we're seeing pairs of kestrels flying over, hovering, and then diving into the long grass. In the evenings, at the sort of dusky times, we're seeing barn owls quartering over the land, quietly, silently, majestically, just watching and then diving in and eating their prey, catching their prey, and abundant buzzards. So in leaving the vegetation to grow, we've got now kind of structure within the grassland, and that allows places for insects to complete their life cycle, little microclimates within the grasses, but also the birds to perch on top of those long, dock stems, perch on top of those and feed on the dock seeds, as well as the insects that are living within the grassland. We've seen large numbers of stonechats, which we've never seen before, flocks of goldfinches, and just abundant wrens just in and out of the hedgerows, and the hedgerows are obviously spilling now into the field, so there's much more habitat for them to feed and to nest. So the project has allowed us to employ a ranger. Phil has joined the team and he's supporting a load of volunteers, and hundreds of volunteer hours have been spent on our rewilding site. They've done a lot of building of tree guards and planting of historic parkland trees in their original locations. They've also removed a load of fences to allow the stock and the wildlife to move freely across the site. The project has also allowed us to support bursary fund trainees on our traineeship, and those trainees have spent a lot of time working with school groups and now improving access through events, supporting events like our annual BioBlitz, as well as monitoring the site here as well and understanding what's happening through the returns of wildlife. So as part of our unique rewilding efforts here at Sharpham, we're restoring the historic parkland, and that involves planting trees in their original locations. We're seeing natural regeneration of trees as well. Woody species are growing where they want to grow, where the conditions are right for them to grow. In year 2, we introduced some livestock to sort of fast track some of the returns of wildlife here. They're helping to check the growth of grasses, grazing them and browsing some of the vegetation, as well as our rootling animals, our pigs. We've got 2 Mangalitsa pigs who have been here for most of the year. And they've been rootling in the ground, looking for grubs, looking for food, but in doing that they've turned up the turf, broken through this grassy crust, and in that open bare ground is where we'll see all the magic happening. The opportunities for plants to grow, for woody species to take root, and to add a little bit of sort of diverse structure within these fields, which are very monotonous otherwise. Importantly, the holding is now entirely organic, and so we've been able to introduce 4 organic belted Galloways, and they're doing a lot of the grazing. They're young beasts, and they're freely moving through the removal of all the internal fences. They're freely moving across the whole holding now, where they're grazing on the grasses and on the herbaceous species. They're browsing on the hedgerows as well, and in their dung, it's a really, really important food source for lots and lots of insects. Dung beetles particularly are doing really well here now through organic dung from our cows, and of course they in themselves are a food source for things like bats and the great horseshoe bats that migrate and move through this landscape along the River Dart here. So rewilding here at Sharpham is allowing us to interact with lots of different audiences, and we're feeling really hopeful that that will maintain and grow, and more people can engage with that. That's more volunteers, that's more public events, that's also more retreats that Sharpham are running, where the retreatants can come and interact with the rewilding, can come and learn about and reconnect with nature, real nature, because we've now got nature on our doorstep.